Every endurance athlete should know this about the hydration products they're using and hydration in general.
Let's start with water being a good or a bad hydrator. Yeah, it's a poor hydrator. Who'd have guessed, right? Most people think it's a great hydrator. No judgment though, a lot of people get it wrong. But the question becomes, why is it a poor hydrator? And it's because it doesn't have any carbohydrate and it doesn't have any electrolytes. Now, these are considered co-transporters. And without the co-transporters, we can't get the water into the interstitial spaces, which is what it takes to hold on to it and be hydrated. Otherwise, it's just going in the mouth and out the urine. So lots of clear pee is not a good indicator that you're well hydrated at all. It's just an indicator that the water is flowing out of you, and that might not be a good thing. Now, water can become a good hydrator when we add food. Because most foods, if we take a simple piece of fruit, it's going to have carbohydrate and the electrolytes with it. Almost everything natural has a little bit of salt in it, and everything packaged or processed definitely has some salt in it. It also has the other electrolytes in there as well, but we're mostly worried about salt here. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So if you eat food, you drink water, now water becomes a good hydrator. Where can you put that into your training? Well, you can do it before, you can do it a little bit during, you can do it after, and you can certainly do it the days leading up to. A lot of times, depending on the size of the event or the training session, your hydration is determined days in advance. Good hydration strategy and paying attention to the fluids you take and eating and having those co-transporters present with the water is just very good for your hydration status. Help be a better athlete. What's the other product option? Is an electrolyte powder, all right? Now, you can buy electrolytes in tabs, caps, powders, and when you get these, you're going to mix them plus water, okay? So you've got electrolytes in these forms plus water, and the benefit is that this gives us our lights, right? Short for electrolytes right here, and that would be our sodium, our potassium, our chloride, our mag, and our calcium. And the only one we're really worried about is our sodium. These other ones, for all intents and purposes, for anything under 8 hours, just don't matter. You're not going to run a shortage. There's not enough of them in the sweat. And I have other videos on that. But our electrolytes will give us our water plus the lights, and then it's going to give us plus some carbohydrate. And this should be a small amount, okay? Not a lot. Small amount of carbohydrate. And typically that small amount of carbohydrate is like 5 to 7 grams per scoop of the powders. And the tabs and caps don't really have very much. They're kind of relying on you to eat food with them. I'm not a huge fan of tabs and caps personally. I think it's easy to overdo it. And in fact, the formulations of like sodium chloride can overdo it in the stomach, and you can actually cause more problems and more GI distress than the cramping you were trying to solve improperly, because sodium doesn't have anything to do with cramping. Now, electrolytes are good when would I use this with an athlete or for myself? You know, this is actually really useful to use when you've got like 0 to 90 minutes, zone 2, you know, zone 4. And you just sip on them, it's okay. And I would say low amounts of zone 4. It's mostly this zone 2, zone 3, 90 up to 90 minutes, 45-minute workout. It's when it's best. The benefit that I find is that it's got a small amount of carbohydrate. So I'm not packing on tons of calories for workouts where I'm just really not getting at it and I don't need the fuel source. And so then that takes me to sports drinks. Sports drinks, they provide us all kinds of stuff, right? For good and bad, right? We've got to have the water because we've got to mix those powders up. They almost all come with electrolytes, and they all come with carbohydrate. Now, the carbohydrate is the good or bad, right? And so in this case, we got to say sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. So what are those two situations? Is carbohydrate for me when I'm going to go work, you know, like when is it going to be good for me? Like when would I use it? You know, here I'm looking at 90 plus minutes easy, and it's either LSD or moderate to high intensity. Now, LSD would be your long, slow days, and that's where I'm going to use the sports drink as a form of fuel, which then takes me to this carbohydrate. Most carbohydrate formulations are between 17 to like 25 grams of sugar. Now, some of these carbohydrates are going to be used to co-transport, like we talked about. And the remainder are going to be used in the body as fuel. It's the extra energy the calories need to get through. When I use the sports drinks, I'm looking at, okay, this is really hard at high intensity. I can't eat solid food. I really don't want to carry a bunch of other products. I'm just going to drink my energy and my liquid and my electrolytes all at the same time. They can also be concentrated. That's part of a fueling strategy. We can talk about that in another video. Or I'm looking at like a long, slow day where I don't want to carry a bunch of products. I just want to put a couple scoops in a bottle and then carry a Camelback and sip on plain water to dilute. So a lot of sugar is good in some situations, and then a lot of sugar can be bad because now I'm putting on 17 to 25 grams of carbohydrate when I may not need it for, let's say, an easy run. So if I go back up to this 0 to 90, like a 45-minute jog, you know, or 60-minute zone 2, get out and run, you know, even 70 minutes easy, that zone 2 stuff doesn't require any more fuel than what you already have on board inside your muscle glycogen, inside your muscles, and the fat stores. So now I'm just sucking down a whole bunch of calories, which aren't helping me at all. So then what do you do with all of this? And that's the important piece, is once you understand what these do, they all get put into what would be your fueling strategy. And that is what's going to be the next video.